Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. Oh, bring in the microphone. And we were talking about climate change news of the day. Good to see y'all. Lots of people in the chats. Thank you guys. Starting out on Rockfin with 12 watching. That's great. Urban Hermit, hello. Snake 1974, hello. Turkish BBN fan, hello. All of them hanging out on Rockfin. Excuse me. Let's get into some news. So, or not? Can we get into some news or what? Here we go. This was tweeted out by Roger Hallam. Today, excuse me, yikes. There are 3 steps we need to create the change we need in the next 5 years. 1, climate is not a question of the environment, but a question of state security and survival. Not just for humans. Boris is 30 years late in recognizing this point. So he's reposting an article from The Guardian, which is stating that Boris Johnson is going to tell world leaders that the climate crisis is driving insecurity. This is good news that he realizes this. Again, well, let me go on and read this. 2, as such, governments which continue to allow emissions are guilty of treason against their states. That may sound harsh, but that also is very true. I mean, if you're allowing or even encouraging on some levels the death and destruction and harm of your own citizens, then what does that make you as a government, which is supposed to be serving the needs of the citizens and not just overseeing them and controlling them. 3, in confronting treason, citizens have a sacred right and indispensable duty to rebel. That is also very true. You have the moral authority, even if you are breaking the law, you have the moral authority to get rid of a tyrannical government. It may be illegal according to their laws, but in the laws of, I don't know what you call it, righteousness, on a moral level, you have a duty and a right to do that. Burning Pink goes on to follow up. The politicians are failing the people and the planet. It's time to replace them with people. Anyways, let's look at this article that he posted. It's from yesterday. Climate crisis is driving insecurity. Johnson to tell world leaders. Prime Minister to use chairing of UN Security Council session to set scene for COP26 climate conference. Boris Johnson is to tell other world leaders that the climate emergency is driving insecurity, as he uses the first UN Security Council session chaired by a British Prime Minister in nearly 30 years to set the scene for the COP26 climate conference in Glasgow. The Prime Minister will chair a virtual session of the Security Council, which will also be addressed by David Attenborough, who will warn leaders that without urgent and coherent action, the pace of change could become unstoppable. All those things are true. So, on the very least, at least they are, trying or getting closer to the truth, trying to tell the truth. At very least, that is happening. There are a lot of areas where the truth is not being told. In words released ahead of the virtual meeting taking place on Tuesday, Johnson said the Security Council is tasked with confronting the gravest threats to global peace and security, and that's exactly what climate change represents. Well, and, Boris Johnson also making apparent, too, that, quote unquote right-wing leaders in Europe or in other places of the world aren't nearly as right-wing as Donald Trump was. This is in line with what Joe Biden is saying. So if Boris Johnson is the right-wing leader in the UK, then what does that make? That makes Joe Biden basically, a right-wing leader in other countries of the world, but in the United States, he's supposedly left or liberal, which he is not. He is not. He's just a Democrat in name only. But at least he acknowledges that climate change is real. He said, from communities uprooted by extreme weather and hunger to warlords capitalizing on the scramble for resources, a warming planet is driving insecurity. I heard, speaking of warlords, I heard a really good analogy of corporate leaders, billionaires, CEOs, corporate execs, corporate owners, basically being referred to as warlords, right? Because they are, in a society that leaves people open to being preyed upon by institutions. It's up to these institutions to give people protection or give people health care or give people wages or PPE or rights to be granted, right? So it's just interesting turn of phrase that somebody referred to corporate leaders as warlords, but if you think about it, it makes sense, right? They actually have more power than the politicians who are served with representing us, because they control what those politicians are able to fight for or do for us. Anyways, unlike many issues the council deals with, this is one we know exactly how to address by helping vulnerable countries adapt to climate change and cutting global emissions to net zero. We will protect not only the bountiful biodiversity of our planet, but its prosperity and security. Sounds good. Those are some nice words. Those words sound good. Attenborough was to tell world leaders that COP26 would be our last opportunity to make the necessary step change over changing climate. I don't know what that means. What is step change? Necessary step change? I don't, I mean, it sounds like something. I'm not really sure what that means. Is a step change an agreement? Is a step change actual action? Or is it just an agreement to action? Or is it an agreement that we understand? Or is it an agreement that we understand only at one level and not at another level? What does that step change mean? He said if we bring emissions down with sufficient vigor, again, we may yet avoid the tipping points that will make runaway climate change unstoppable. So there he veers off a little bit from reality, unfortunately. If we objectively view climate change and the loss of nature as worldwide security threats, as indeed they are, then we may yet act proportionately and in time. So that's fine. These are all good. No, hold on one second. Um, those are fine. Those words sound fine. But what does security mean? What does worldwide security threat mean? He's talking about the worldwide security threat to biodiversity, threat to the future of humanity. Um, Maybe I don't know. It sounds somewhat coupled with the security of countries or nations, but that should be far lower on the scale of importance. Someone's national security than the security of the planet or the people on the planet. Indeed, if we were living in in a world in which we dealt in reality, the militaries of the world would be disbanded, nuclear weapons would be destroyed and or confiscated. Um, all of the posturing and the military adventures would be done away with, and we would all, stop the need or the necessity to have close to $1 trillion military budget and bomb people in other countries all year round. In order to make money, in order to make some money. Yeah, we would stop all of that business. Hold on one second. Okay, well, what is she eating? She took the tape off my leg. Okay, well, just go try and get it from her. But if you can't get it from her, don't worry about it, Isla. It's okay. Just take it. Open her mouth and take it. Okay, well, just take it out of her mouth. Thunder. Hey, let it go. Thunder. Hey, Thunder, let it go. Let it go. Okay, I've got to do my show, honey, okay? I can't be interrupted. Okay, just let it go. Let her go. Let it go. Just let it go. I can't deal with it right now, okay? So sorry about that. Also the discussion around helping out vulnerable communities or vulnerable countries or people in need. Millions of the world's poorest people are already living with the impacts of climate change. All of that is really lovely. The acknowledgement of that. But maybe we should stop exporting our need to control the rest of the planet on other countries. I'm just a little concerned that all this talk about helping other countries is another humanitarian control mechanism. Humanitarianism, quote unquote. Just trying to help people, you know what I mean? It concerns me. It concerns me. Yeah. Um, yes, dogs eating stuff. Um, yeah, I think Roger Hallam's statements on this are correct. Kevin Shanholzer says, I'd like to see Attenborough's definition of net zero. That seems to have many definitions, most of which are full of loopholes. Right. Yeah, what does net zero mean? When exactly are we supposed to achieve it? What is it supposed to do? What happens when we get there? I mean, I guess, I guess just the acknowledgement that there's an issue and that there should be some goal in mind. I guess on a very, very basic level, that's okay. That's good. Irk 1, help other countries discover their mineral deposits. Indeed. Help other countries install thousands of miles of green infrastructure. Indeed. Well, let me actually, in that vein, let me read this. I wasn't actually going to bring this story up. I thought I was going to do it another day, but it's an interesting tweet. And I just want to kind of dissect this. I didn't really look in it. Of course, it's New York Times, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to really look at this article. But this is a tweet from Shola Lawal, who says, super fascinating discovery by NASA scientists. Africa's air is getting cleaner as countries get richer. But that could soon change. Adriana M. says we should focus on the positives for now. And Biawakola tells me this is a win. Let's see if we can look at this. But I want to kind of see their take on what this means. What cleaner air in Africa because of a rising economy, what does that actually mean? Of course, they're going to not let me read this. A surprise in Africa, air pollution falls as economies rise. Air quality is improving in one of the continent's fastest growing regions. Researchers have found if the trend can be sustained, it would be good news for human health and climate change. Well, and all, I can't really read the whole article, so I'm not going to really spitball on what I think it means, but, or too much. I am going to spitball a little bit. But it sounds like, a bit of a commercial from the Chamber of Commerce, as in, if we, if the standard of living rises and the countries get wealthier, look what it does for the air quality, clean air, right? So this is, most likely they're using this as a reason to, to say like, well, we got to bring everybody's standard of living up now, guys, because that means we're going to fight climate change by bringing everybody's standard of living up. And of course, lots and lots of problems with that, but that means lots of other things. Not that I'm against bringing people's standard of living up. I mean, I think people should have, basic necessities, food, water, clothing, healthcare, etc. All those things people should have, as a basic human right. However, if we raise everybody's standard of living to the standard of a wealthy Western country, that is very bad things for climate. That actually is bad things for climate change. So again, more mixed messages, I'm sure. I'm not even really going to get into that. I just want to say that as an aside. But let's move on. I don't want to try and get too, go down too many alleyways today. And I'm not really going to be, this video will not be too much longer. This from Greta Thunberg. We are in a climate and ecological emergency. What should we do? I know. Let's ban plant-based dairy from displaying allergen info being sold in cartons using images of their own products and explaining the climate impact of food. That'll fix it. So this is from, she's tweeting something from George Monbiot. And let's check this out. He says the power of meat and dairy lobbyists in the EU has got completely out of hand. Here are their latest ridiculous proposals for shutting down the competition. So yeah, you know, the EU also doing stuff like every other country, which is like, yeah, we care about climate change. Yeah. Net zero by 2035. Yeah. Guys, we're doing it. We're on the case. However, EU is considering new plans to ban plant-based dairy from displaying allergen info being sold in cartons. Why would they do this? Using images of their own products, explaining the climate impact of food. Oh, we cannot have this. Today, 21 organizations called on EU leaders to reject these plans. Here's why. Well, and they tell you why. They follow up in this Twitter thread. They tell you why. Agriculture is responsible for 10.3% of EU's greenhouse gas emissions, and nearly 70% of those come from the animal sector. Aha. So there are powerful financial interests behind this weird, strange banning of plant-based dairy from displaying allergen info being sold in cartons using images of their own products. Like, okay. So the people in charge and the powers that be are all very aware of the problems, and they're all really on board for helping. But are they powerful enough to stop these corporate interests that, you know, play them like marionettes, like puppets on a string, you know, from having their way with actual laws that are passed? Anyways. EU has set bold climate targets and plans green recovery, right? So the words are all really good. They're all just really nice words, right? But they're considering imposing extreme restrictions on plant-based dairy, and that would be a serious failing, they say, because it doesn't make any sense, because it's completely contradictory to we care a lot, except for when we don't. And here we go, you know, except for when we pass this law that says we don't care at all. So you gotta actually look behind the words. You gotta look behind the words. You gotta not just take the words at face value and go, look, see, they care. It's great. Everybody, we're doing it. They're all on board. It's a wonderful world we're walking into, the new world of climate responsibility. But they're not doing that. On some levels, they're not doing that. So beware the fox that comes at you, baring his teeth, and it looks like he's smiling, but he's not really smiling. Arr. The fox guarding the hen house. I'll guard the hen house for you. Promise. Gonna finish up here, guys, with a few high temperatures in Australia. It has been quite hot in portions of Australia, as well as this week. Let's call this hot spell Wallaby. Heat wave conditions coming up in Australia, and you know, this has been expected. Heat waves. What's new in Australia? And so Christopher Cartwright also tweets this out. Warmest daily temperatures, 43.5. Is that right? Hold, please. That sounds incredibly warm. Let's see, what is that? That sounds really hot. 110 degrees. Okay. Not as warm as I thought it sounded, but that sounded really hot. I guess when you get into 50s is when, or close to 50 degrees Celsius, that's when, things are really going down. 41 in Paraguay, 40 in Myanmar, 39 in Gambia, 38 in Congo. Antarctica also had its eighth coldest day. Is that right? Or coldest day? Minus 53.5. I'm not really sure what that means. But again, more temperature records being set or broken. Show that. Sorry. Didn't mean to leave you all hanging. Didn't mean to leave you hanging. Sorry, everything. I think I have too many windows open on my browser because everything is moving really slow. Scott Andrews says last week we had temperatures around 0 Fahrenheit. Today it's 65 Fahrenheit, right? Which is incredibly warm, right? Kiwi Bear Muzza, how you doing? Everyone say hello to Kiwi Bear Muzza, our moderator. Good to see you. Thank you, as always, for your help. More anomalies, says Ross Cobbin, yes. At 50C, things spontaneously combust. Right. Exactly. That's when you know to get underground or indoors or something. Yeah. I was thinking, yeah, 110 degrees is very hot indeed. I was thinking, is a grid going down, or is a large scale failure of the grid? Would that count as humans hitting some kind of overshoot, right? Because we rely on these outside forces to bring us, the food, the energy, the things to keep warm, the things to keep us alive. If those things, those apparatuses fail, would that be counted as an overshoot event? Suddenly people were like, millions of people were without food. I mean, I would call that, we got very close to an overshoot event in Texas. To a large scale overshoot event. Anyways, guys, I think I have about reached the end of this particular video. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Yeah, well, I mean, if you get to a situation where people have no resources in order to stay alive, does that mean that carrying capacity has gone down to almost zero very, very quickly? Anyways, guys, thank you all for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. I will be doing a neorealism at noon, so a couple of minutes, and hope to see you all over there. Until next time, peace.